Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. For as long as I can remember, as long as video games have been around, there's been the discussion on how detrimental, how positive, how negative, how beneficial video games can be to the growing mind, the social skills, and whatnot. And despite study after study showing that no, video games do not lead to real world violence, that they can be beneficial, they can help with social skills, hand eye coordination, cognitive thinking, decision making, and so on and so forth, we still get discussions of how video games are for children. And despite being the largest entertainment genre, I guess that'd be a genre, the largest part of the entertainment industry, the most financially lucrative, I guess, beneficial to corporations, we still get people like good old James Lindsay over here, him sparking this conversation as of late. I don't know if he's trolling or not, but I'm 46 years old. I stopped playing video games when I was 25. Well, good for you, James. Then I finished my PhD. Seeming like you're kind of insinuating that video games held you back. That seems like a you problem, not a me problem, not anyone else problem. We're not going to talk about what I get to do in my job and play video games and make stupid YouTube videos. Okay, they're not stupid. Please hit like and subscribe. Please. We're begging you. Anyway, he wants to quote Corinthians. What is it? Corinthians 13:11. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I set aside childish ways. Now, there's a little note here, quoted Bible verse, saying that Paul is using different periods of life as an analogy to represent the imperfections of present Christian gifts. But I'm not here to talk to you about religion. I'm talking to you about the idea, the statement that video games are for children. This couldn't be farther from the truth. There are video games out there for children, but there are games out there for a more mature audience. And I'm not just talking about the particular genre for, more risque tastes. But why do we treat video games as such? What is different about video games? Are they any better than, I don't know, going to a concert, spending your time enjoying some music with friends? Because there's a whole bunch of video games out there that have excellent scores that you can play multiplayer with your friends and associates. Well, what about your football game, your sports ball game, basketball, soccer, football, rugby, or whatnot, getting together with your friends? I have this argument when it comes to esports, people saying that esports isn't a sport. Why would you watch someone playing video games? How is that competition? I said, well, esports deals with, again, just the study of hand-eye coordination and decision-making, much like the job of the quarterback, hand-eye coordination and decision-making under pressure. So it's not a physical sport, but it's definitely a mental sport. Just my opinion. Please don't destroy me in the comments. But how is it any different than the hobby of following your favorite sports team? What about reading? Nobody fusses and complains when someone spends hours upon hours a day reading books. What's so different than that? A video game is nothing more than a visual storytelling where you get to interact with the story and make the decisions yourselves. I think maybe video games on some level, not all levels, might be a little bit better as far as storytelling when it comes compared to video games and movies. Because, again, we enjoy sitting around watching TV, watching movies with our friends, the same thing that you can do with video games, with multiplayer games. Sure, there's a lot of single player games out there, but to each their own. There's nothing wrong with sitting around and watching a TV show or a movie by yourself. Don't let people judge you. What is so different about these hobbies than other interesting hobbies? People are always going after tabletop role-playing games and making fun, at least, when I was in high school a few decades ago. Yeah, everyone knows by now I'm 51 years old and I've gone through this time and time and time again. Whatever complaints you have against video games and role-playing games and tabletop war games, it's all the same. But in my eyes, one hobby is no different than the other. If you get enjoyment out of it, don't let anyone tell you what is childish and what is not. War games, another hobby out there that people thoroughly enjoy getting together with their friends, talking trash, and having a good time. Again, not much different than one hobby or another or another or another. People choose to spend their time, their quality time, their leisure activity in one way or another, whether it's in front of a TV with a friend or a loved one, with their kids, playing role-playing games, playing video games, because it always comes back to that. I'll never understand this denigration of the electronic medium of video games. Why is it so bad? Why do people disregard the storytelling, the visual art that it is? Whether it's a realistic style or a cartoonish style, it is art. Now, just like any other art or music or storytelling, not all of these things are created equally. You still have trash music on an album, a trash episode of television, a trash episode, a garbage movie with an overly inflated budget. More than enough things that we talk about on the internet. But I'll never understand why video games have to be denigrated as some sort of childish activity. C.S. Lewis said it best, and I believe I prefer this quote over Corinthians. No offense. Critics who treat adult as a term of approval instead of as merely a descriptive term cannot be adults themselves. To be concerned about being grown up, to admire the grown-up because it is grown up, to blush at the suspicion of being childish. These things are the mark of childhood and adolescence. And in childhood and adolescence, they are, in moderation, healthy symptoms. Young things ought to want to grow, but to carry on into middle life or even into early manhood, this concern about being adult is a mark of really arrested development. When I was 10, I read fairy tales in secret and would have been ashamed if I had been found doing so. Now, and I can definitely relate to this one, now that I am 50, I read them openly. I play my video games openly. I criticize my TV shows, movies, cartoons, whether it's anime or the classic Saturday morning cartoons. I speak of it openly, lovingly, with all the passion I can muster as a 51-year-old father. When I became a man, I put away childish things, including the fear of childishness and the desire to be very grown up. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be mature, but I think just like being childish, just like enjoying the leisure activities, in moderation is always best. Know when to be mature. Enjoy when it's time to be childish. Enjoy your hobbies. Don't let them go. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But what do I know? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all those nifty little things that YouTube is begging you to do. And I hope to see you on the next one.